All right, good morning, everyone. Let's call court to order. Is there a motion to accept this report for recording purposes?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
To have you for today. To see in your faces, feel in your spirit, it's amazing. And I'm so excited to congratulate you on this historic win. So I was sitting until short story. I was sitting in my bed and I was preparing this speech. And I like to be prepared, right? Because I had this OCD thing going on. And so I like to be prepared, and I was typing up this elaborate speech on what I was going to say to you all today. And I was talking about how the Houston Rock, okay, this is before y'all's time. Back in 1994 and 95, from Houston. And so I was in Houston when the Houston Rockets double clutched it. Right? They went to our championships in Houston, and the time was crazy. They went crazy the first time, they were going against the odds and they persevered and everybody think they were going to do it, and then they came out, oh, they got lucky. They're not going to be able to do it a second time. They came right back around the following year and won another championship. more people moving to Houston just because of that team, right? And so I'm sitting there typing, and my husband had ESPN playing, and all of a sudden, this video comes up of the Duke University high school girls coach, college coach, Kara Lawson. And she started talking, and at first it didn't catch my attention until she kept talking. And she kept talking about being diligent and persevering through the hard times and how to handle hard better. I know y'all heard because y'all nodding, so y'all have some amazing coaches, and I'm pretty sure I've already instilled this into you. But it touched me in such a way, and I slammed the computer down, and my husband said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm done. There's no reason why I need to sit up here and write this speech. These girls don't need me to say some superficial speech to them this morning. They need to hear from my heart. They need to have newness of life invested into them. Because when you're given an opportunity such as this, you give me an opportunity and platform to be able to come in front of you and talk to you. It's my responsibility to instill life into you. So if I just stand up here and say, oh, we congratulate you, we're so happy for you, and you leave with nothing, you leave with nothing to take into life with you. It isn't fair. You're getting ready to embark on a hard journey. We have some seniors in here. We have some juniors in here. And you all know what I'm talking about. Everybody in the back has been through it. We've all been through it. And you're going to need some nuggets to take with you into life. Everything that this village that is surrounding you is doing, your teachers, your coaches, your faculty and staff, your superintendent, she's here. She's instilling life into you. Everything that she does. And so I want you to take all that great background that you put in your basketball to win another championship. Take that with you into life. Because you're going to need it. You're going to need it when the times get hard. You're going to need to pull from whatever you put on that court, whatever you put into this team, you're going to need to pull from that when times get hard in life. So don't leave it on the court. Don't leave it when you graduate. Don't leave it on that stage. Take it with you to like everything that you've learned these past 4 years and even before you've come through the complete system. Take it with you into life because you're going to need it and it's going to make you grow. So leave on that. Leave on your village. Leave on your communities and listen to you. And don't forget about it because they're waiting for you to come, right? They want to hear how you're doing. They want to hear what's going on in life. How can I help? They're still going to need you. And so I just wanted to give you that to you. Yes, we're excited. We want to highlight your successes. We want to say how excited we are for you. But you want to instill life into you as well. I want to say something like, so in that means I'm pretty quiet. If you haven't seen it, some of you have. And if you haven't seen it, pull from it. He's going to invest into your life just like he invested into mine. history with your second state championship win. Your remarkable achievement has not only brought pride to your school, but has left an indelible mark on your community. Your unwavering determination and extraordinary talents have set a new standard of excellence with this historic accomplishment. And I'm going to call each of your names because it's on the mark. If I mispronounce it, have grace for me. Mimi, when I call your name, please stand. Mimi Willis, KP Paul, Croatia Freeman, Samara Kelly, Alicia Good, Talia Parker Bennett, Sydney McKinney, Raisha Smith, Solange Kimura Harbert, Angela Carroll, head coach, assistants Sherry Salter, James Lee, Victoria Cardigan, Lisa Amy, Deidre Lee, LaCandice Sanders. Do we have a creative directors for this? Jemiah Woods. Trainers? Okay. Dr. Shields, Superintendent. Oh, we can do better than that. Dr. Shields. And would you mind?
Yes, one other picture.
We need Dr. Shields.
Yes, Dr. Shields. And then we're gonna get the entire team.
You did good. You did good.
The entire team.
We've done this before.
Just, I think that's the best thing to do.
I'd like to say something while I have a captive audience here. You know, La Vega does so many great things, and athletics is definitely a part of it. But, aside from that, and in addition to that, is what you, Dr. Shields and your team are doing in, STEM education. Good morning to talk about it, because we have TSTC here as well. But really, preparing your students to get out and enter life and, really be able to make a good living for our family. We want all of y'all, when you go through all your education, to stay right here in McLennan County. Be better with y'all's help. So, Dr. Shields, thanks so much for, what you and your team provide. Reception out here, to honor, this team. And so we're gonna go at, on a 5-minute recess. Starting now.
Let's see if that video plays.
Okay.
There we go. Ladies, you may not be able to see it visually, but the words is what we want you to hear, okay?
I was talking with Shay a couple days ago, and one of the things we talked about was how we all wait in life for things to get easier. Think in your own life, if you waited for something to get easier. Oh, I just got to get through this, and then it'll be easy. I just got to get through preseason, and then it'll be okay. I've just got to get through my junior year of high school, and then the classes are going to get easier. Or I've just got to get to my spring of my senior year of college, and it's going to be easier. It's what we do. We wait for stuff to get easier. It will never get easier. What happens is you handle hard better. That's what happens. Most people think that it's going to get easier. Life is going to get easier. Basketball is going to get easier. School's going to get easier. It never gets easier. What happens is you become someone that handles hard stuff better. So that's a mental shift that has to occur in each of your brains. It has to. Because if you go around waiting for stuff to get easier in life, it's never going to happen. And then what happens? Oh, it's so hard. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, I don't know when is it going to be easy for me? Oh, it's easy for other people. It's not. It's hard. And the second we see you handling stuff, handling hard better, what are we going to do? We're going to make it harder. We're going to make it harder. Because we're preparing for you for when you leave here. Not just basketball and life. And if you think life, when you leave college, is going to be all of a sudden get easy because you graduated and you got a Duke degree, it's not going to get easier. It's going to get harder. So make yourself a person that handles hard well. Not someone that's waiting for the easy. Because if you have a meaningful pursuit in life, it will never be easy. If you're trying to win a championship, if you're trying to have a family, ask your parents. Do you think it was ever easy for them to raise kids? Karen, is it easy? It's not. Any meaningful pursuit in life, if you want to be successful at it, it goes to the people that handle hard well. Those are the people that get the stuff they want. People that wait around for easy, you probably see them at the bus stop. They're waiting for the easy bus to come around. Easy bus never comes around. You gotta handle hard. Okay, so don't get discouraged through this time. If it's hard, don't get discouraged. It's supposed to be. And don't wait for it to be easy. Oh, I just gotta get through the summer. And then it'll all of a sudden get easy in the fall. No, it won't. It won't. It won't get easy in the fall. So make yourself someone that handles hard well. And then whatever comes at you, you're gonna be great. You're gonna be great, okay?
Well said.
Okay, we will recess for 5 minutes and go celebrate.
Cupcakes. We are live, I guess. recording. Yes.
Does it show it's recording?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's call court back in session. Okay. Dustin, next, if you'll pick it up, this is a discussion about consequences of the eclipse planning.
Yes, sir. So if we can go to item M2 regarding the 2024 total solar eclipse. M2A is discussion and or action regarding event updates and reports. I believe the only thing we have under this item today is that Constable Precinct 1 had reached out, letting us know that Waco PD had requested assistance that weekend prior to the eclipse through Tuesday, April the 9th. Walt will be using his part-time staff to help with patrol and other issues during that time. So it's more just to make the court aware that they could exhaust that part-time item in their budget, the line item. So just want to make the court aware it's not time to bring a budget amendment yet, but Francis is monitoring, and when that time's right, we'll bring a budget amendment. So just for the court's awareness.
All right, so no action needed.
No action needed on that, but under M2B, this is authorization of order regarding office closures, including payroll matters. So there's a minute order in your packet. Essentially, it just says that in the interest of public safety, on April 8th, 2024, McLennan County offices will be closed during normal operating hours, with the exception of those offices providing public safety services, including the sheriff's office, constable's offices, and road and bridge departments. For employee pay purposes, the eclipse will be treated as a weather closing / emergency event. And Francis or Anna, did y'all want to add anything to that?
No, sir. This is Anna.
Yes, and same for Francis. I don't have anything else to add.
All right, thank you. All right, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve the order. Second.
Have a motion, second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Thank you. All right, going to items K1A. This is regarding the beneficiary agreement with Texas State Technical College and TSTC Foundation, project update on Central Texas Industrial Training Center. All right, we have Beth Wooten and Tracy Darnell here this morning to make a presentation, and this is this whole project is one of their brainchild projects, and we are happy the city and the county have joined together to help with the capital funding in partnership with TSTC, and so the ground was broke and the walls are tilted up, and so bring us up to date.
Okay, well, thank you all so much for the invitation this morning. It's my first time in Commissioners Court making a presentation.
Welcome.
So if I get out of bounds, y'all just let me know.
Oh, yeah, we got deputies here and everything.
Okay, good. Well, I don't know how we'll follow the La Vega lady basketball team, but wow, what a treat that was to
Yes.
be in court this morning to see that. So thank you all. My name is Beth Wooten. I'm the provost for our Waco campus here at TSTC. And the work site, we do have a PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, you have it printed out. Okay. So the work site is truly an innovative project, the first of its kind that TSTC has ever partnered in such a way. And so it really is celebrating the power of partnerships. And I'm going to introduce the project a little bit and then turn it over to Ms. Casey Darnell, who is the executive in charge of the project. She's really doing the heavy lifting for us. But the power of partnerships is exemplified by the logo, which is McLennan County and Waco, the M and the W coming together with TSTC as the training provider. So on the next slide, just talks a little bit about what the worksite is. Worksite, SITE, stands for Skills Innovation Training and Education. It's a collaborative project aimed at addressing the industrial skills gap for existing and future industries of Waco and McLennan County. And the next slide just really kind of shows who some of those partners are. And new partners, we're exploring new partnerships every day. So of course, McLennan County and the city of Waco came together. The Waco Industrial Foundation came together. We have a really great working relationship with Prosper Waco right now, helping to, just get our footprint a little bit deeper into those areas in McLennan County that we don't traditionally work in. And again, coming together in an innovative way. And the next slide is talking about really what we're going to do out there. And what this talks about is, some TSTC speak, some workforce training, micro-credentials, other relevant training. But what I want to emphasize here is that this project, this center, this training center, I've said innovation about 3 times, and I'm going to say it again because it's truly an innovative approach to solving our workforce needs here in McLennan County. This center gives us the opportunity to change our offerings at any given moment, and we will do that based on what our industry partners need. When our industry partners tell us they need X, Y, or Z, then that's what we're going to put together, and that's what we're going to provide for them. So the way that the work site will complement our main campus is designed for our long-term pipeline, our traditional Certificate 1, Certificate 2, associates level programs. The work site, so that is designed to solve our long-term pipeline needs. The work site is going to solve those short-term needs and continue to innovate when the industry demands change. So we've spent, before I turn it over to my partner here, Casey, Ms. Darnell, we've spent the last year, Casey and I came into this project a year ago November, so we're still finding our way, but we spent the last year really cultivating and putting together a really cohesive, engaged advisory committee of local industry partners. And we've spent the last year listening to them, asking them what they need, having them tell us what their problems, their challenges are. And we're now at a place where we've heard you and we're ready to package up, put together those training offerings, even though the building hasn't been built yet. But so I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Casey Darnell.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here today. I'm excited to be here. And yes, like Provost Wooten mentioned, we spent the past year cultivating relationships with an advisory committee group of members to see what those short-term training would look like when the doors open, which will be January, February of 2025. All of the workforce training that we do, which is where we work with employers for upskilling or retraining their current employees, that will be moved out at the work site where it's available. But there is also a need for short-term training, short-term credentials that equal great pay and great employment. And so that's where we spent the time with the employers diving into. We are going to offer, on the next slide, we do have what are proposed and what we are currently already in the process of teaching as it pertains to short-term credentials. The facility will have welding spot and grinding facilities out there, 16 welding bays. So we are going to offer some welding skills. We are going to spend a lot of our time focused on advanced manufacturing. That is a need here in the McLennan County area with all of our employers and even some of our new employers who are coming through the motor controls, the PLC training, the pneumatics, and especially in upskilling, that advanced manufacturing is a big need with employers as well. Some of the other training that we've been working on currently and we are offering is the forklift certification, OSHA 10, OSHA 30, soldering, and NCCR core. And on the next slide, when we look at workforce training for employers, this is just a list of what our workforce training department can offer, what they have available to industry that they can start right away with that. So those are always an option, among other things that our workforce training department can offer a group of employers. When we, on the next slide, this is our advisory committee here. It is led by Rick Tullis and Jacob Coxwich. Jacob is with Vallis Automation. These are the list of employers who we meet every other month. And they have been amazing at guiding us on what we offer, what we teach, what's going to be relevant to them. Also, any soft skill development that's going to help them out, where their challenges are with recruiting, with keeping someone on. They've just been great partners. I can't thank them enough for their time that they've given us. That's very valuable right now, is for an employer to give the time like they have.
Let me point out one thing, that there's several, companies here that are new to the county that we were involved in recruiting into here, that immediately, I mean, this is one of our recruiting tools. This is in our, our mental brochure, you might say, but in Bosses, Oots and Newts, and, graphic packaging, among others, but they are all in and really look at this program as an asset to their ability to compete.
That's correct. We're actually meeting with graphic packaging on Thursday to really dive into some of their training needs. They're going to start hiring about 50 in July and then another 50 in December, and we're already focused on how we're going to accomplish that for them. On the next slide too, these are just a few examples of some of our local partnerships and support that we've had. Prosper Waco, the Greater Waco Chamber of Commerce has been amazing as well, getting us involved and getting us to meet new industry and encouraging the relationships with those local partners. McGregor Chamber of Commerce, the Manufacturing Institute, which is Heroes Make America. We have a cohort that goes on once about every 15 weeks with exit veterans out of Fort Hood who come in here and they get a mechatronics certification, a SACA certification, and they've been very supportive of the work site as well. And of course, the Syntax African American Chamber of Commerce and the Syntax Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Mission Waco have been supportive as well. And I'm sure there's more to come on that. And with the facility on the next slide, it is going to be a little over 30,000 square feet. The total project cost $17 million. It is a one-story concrete tilt wall building. The architecture firm is Huckabee. Intrepid Development Group is our project consultant, Brian Nicholson. Masonic is our general contractor. Construction is still on schedule, and it's to be complete December of 2024. And
February 2025. Complete February 2025.
well, the construction should be complete December, but move-in will be January or February of 2025. Closeout completion. Yep.
Sorry.
And then on the next slide after that, this is just some graphics and visuals of where it is going to be at. It's in a perfect location. It's right next to Wardlaw Claim Services at 2501 Wycon Drive, right in front of Coca-Cola's right there, Holt Manufacturing across the street, and how the layout is going to look with the logo and design and what the building is set to look like. And then on the next slide is how the interior will look of it. Big open labs, those are 8,000, is that correct? Yeah, 8,000 square foot labs. You got locker rooms, you have classroom space, you have computer lab, and then you have some office space, and then the welding bays are to the back there. And then just the next few slides are just some of the construction updates. We went out there and stood and applauded when the walls got put up. That was in February, I believe it was. And the next slide is just those pieces coming together there. And then the last one's where it actually looks like a building now. Yeah. Hard to believe there was corn out there back in September. Yeah. And that's the update we have. Yeah.
Any questions?
All right, any questions? I will say that, that it's encouraging when we have when an idea is brought to us and we're able to be at least a partner in funding it, and then you're still wondering whether, it's gonna be utilized to what your dreams are, hopes and dreams are, but, I've been attending these, advisory board meetings, and, I'll tell you, there's no doubt there's a need for this, and those companies that they send top line people in there to, ask questions and, generally the answer is yes, we can do that. And, it's got great leadership in there as well. And, so anyhow, there's, if any of y'all wanna attend some of those meetings to observe, well, we can schedule that out. Condition that we don't violate the Open Meetings Act, and so we can schedule that, just let me know if you do wanna go. And then the other thing that we can continue to work on, as a governmental body is to, try to put together some other pieces that make it, even better or more useful would be really good transportation connections in there. As well as, something that's, talked about, it's a hard deal to do, but childcare could be an important part of all these training operations, especially when people, have jobs and they're trying to upskill and they're also responsible for childcare. So that's another piece of it that we're working with, Workforce Solutions and HotCog and those, think about all those different things too, so. Any questions or comments?
A question, and it pertains to those who want to be upskilled. Flexible scheduling hours for people that are working
That is the intent.
full-time day jobs that want to,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We haven't got that far yet to actually put down scheduling. That's our next project that we're working on with our performa and our business plan. But that's the intent, yeah, absolutely. We know that in order to accomplish the upskilling of greater McLennan County residents, we have to provide flexible scheduling. So it'll be designed with that in mind.
Good.
Yes,
The
sir.
advisory board would be a key part of giving input into that as well, so.
right,
Even with industry, when they're sending their employees to get upskilling, we're flexible with that training.
Right.
They can do that however they wish. They can do it during the day, at nights, or even on the weekends.
that's fantastic.
In many cases too, I think these companies will provide time during the regular work schedule for them to send people over there for certain types of training as well, just like we do with our staff.
Makes sense.
Any other questions or comments? Anyone
The
have?
next advisory committee meeting is April 19th.
Okay,
George's,
all right.
chicken fried steak.
Not at George's, but that's who's.
That's catering.
Okay.
Banana pudding. Yep.
Where do y'all meet on your,
Our friends at Region 12 have been gracious enough to allow us to come in there every other month and use their
Okay.
facilities
so
to
it'll be
meet.
at Region 12 then on the 19th?
Yes, that's correct, at 11:30.
Yeah, excellent space for that.
It
too.
is. Mhm.
All right, if there's no other questions, is there a motion to approve this report for recording purposes?
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all.
All right,
Thank you
good
very
day.
much.
Thank y'all very much.
Great update.
Thank you.
All right, so, Dustin, we want to go to H1, which is,
Yes, sir.
update regarding the remodel of the downtown jail.
Yes, sir. So we have Denny Bowles and Gina Irwin from Brinkley Sargent, and then Kevin Carr and John Bennett from Irwin. And I'll just kind of start out just very quickly. Francis had to step out, but
Yeah.
she ran some figures yesterday on where we are on our COs and then also on the ARPA allocation for this project. And so in the 2019 to 2023 bonds, there is 41,868,000 available for this project. And then under ARPA, we have the 9 million in lost revenue for the provision of government services, and then the 5 million that we have set aside specifically for projects inside the downtown jail at 14 million. So between both of those, there's roughly $56 million currently available for this project. So with that, I'll turn it over to the team.
Okay, now just because we gave out some dollars that we have, doesn't mean we absolutely have to spend all of them, you know? All right,
Understand.
okay. Who's kicking it off? Any?
Well, I think we got a PowerPoint. We thought it'd be good just to kind of walk you, kind of maybe take a couple steps back on what we, how we got here and what we're working on now, and kind of here in the near future on what's going on. So go to the next slide. So we went through schematics, and schematics is both a programming exercise and a test fit exercise. If you remember, we came back to you, we actually had to get much further into detail in schematics than we anticipated. We had to work the courtrooms, get our audience up to the judge's expectations. It required some early on structural analysis on removing columns, adding columns, so we could make that happen. We went through many generations on that to see what would work, what didn't work. And a lot of times when you're dealing with an existing facility, it's just what it yields, and just making, getting the best out of that, which I believe we have. We've accomplished all the things in the courtroom that was wanted. We've gone through meetings with all the departments. We went through detainee movement. That was part of this, and that obviously went through a process. And we've also added some pieces. We talked about the connector in between the purchasing building and the jail, and also the addition of kind of the public space, which was needed because we needed more room in the jail itself to get everything to fit. And so, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that. It's shoving a lot of you-know-what in a very small space. And there's been some back and forth on programming and departments, some moving in, some moving out, and we'll kind of walk through that. But that's what schematics was about. It was really a test fit on what we could get in there, and then make the adjustments. So we're currently in design development, and we're in the process. This is where our most intense interaction with the county is. We've been meeting with all the end users that are in the building, including the judges, pretrial, adult, ankle monitoring, adult probation, multiple meetings with the sheriffs, multiple meetings with several departments to get a sense of staffing. And because sometimes we have to, depending on what the project yields, we have to kind of back away from that and kind of make some adjustments there, and all that's gone really well. We met with the Bar Association, and of course, with each generation we deal with, we have to go back and relook at the existing conditions and see what it allows us to do, and then what it doesn't allow us to do. And so there's a lot of back and forth on that. Go to the next slide. So just kind of as a recap, you're seeing there what we're dealing with there. The third floor of the annex is part of the scope of work. That'll be another courtroom over there. And that's where the jail and the annex floor lines match up. And then what we've also done is we have gotten some electronic as-built of the purchasing building. The county didn't have any documentation whatsoever on the purchasing building, either existing documents, as-built, or anything. So we went ahead and did as-built because what we're gonna, part of this scope is the purchasing building doesn't have an elevator, and so it has limited use. And so part of this is to get that connector piece to work, so we can get an elevator to not only work for the jail or the courtrooms, but also for the purchasing building. So that's been kind of an added piece of work, scope of work there that really benefits the county.
Right, it adds another space that makes it ADA compliant that right now.
Correct.
It's not available to us for that purpose, so.
Right. That's right. And so what we're working on right now is how all that works together. And so we're working through that right now. Next slide. So again, part of this is we're talking about pedestrian plaza. So what we're looking at doing there is redoing that area, and it has a lot of utilities in there. And we're looking at needing to relocate some of those utilities. Because it's needed, but B, it's how you need to service the buildings. But also, since that's now the public way, we're trying to clean that up to a large degree. And so we're working through that right now with the landscape architect and going through some concepts of that. We're going through a screening lobby that's been added about a accounts for 30 to 40 people in the screening queuing process.
Is that the blue area?
That is
Yes.
the blue area. where the
Okay.
Arrow is
Yeah.
pointing. And so one of the things we work through with the sheriff's department is a one entry point and not multiple. Again, that's more efficient in staffing, security, all those things. That was part of that schematic design process, kind of working how the building flows, both the public, staff, detainee, judges, and working through that. The purple area there is where we have expanded the public circulation and lobby. We got that out into a new area, so we don't have to, alter the structure. It's a much cleaner way to handle those, because we need more elevators for the public. We need stairways. We need just public toilets. We're required to have so many toilets for the public, especially when you have jury pool day. You're gonna have a lot of people in this building. And so we have to have X amount of toilets. So the math of that just pushed all that out. You're seeing the secure parking there in the upper right. And we will create a perimeter around that. We're relooking at that as well to see if we can't get another car or two for the judges. And then the secure tower in between, that'll be the judges' secure entry into the courtrooms. So they'll have their own secure separate entry in and out of the building there.
It's also accessible to staff, would be able to use that, but it's definitely
Yeah.
limited access. And that yellow piece contains the elevator connector into the maintenance purchasing, and you'll see that with the detailed plans coming up.
Okay.
So one of the challenges we're gonna have is, as you can see on the historic site, we have parking. And we're gonna wanna take that away, because we wanna make the pedestrian plaza purely public. And so where we relocate that, we're working through. That's both for a sheriff and
ADA.
ADA, yeah. So we're working through that. Obviously, when you're dealing with the historic site, we're dealing with the Texas Historical Commission, which further complicates dealing with this site, because they have the final say on things that we can and can't do.
But that would just pertain to the back of the courthouse and things like that, right?
Yes.
There's nothing historic about the annex, downtown jail, or
No,
purchasing.
there is not.
And the pedestrian plaza, which is now that,
Our alley.
there's nothing historical about those, are there?
No. That's all been torn up. Now, that will be, once we get to a point we can propose something to THC, we do need to confirm where that line is drawn with them. And again, it goes back to documentation, which we don't have. And so we'll have that conversation with them. I mean,
What provisions are being made for ADA parking? Because I can see that, you've got it figured out where the public elevator is, but where are we going to put the disabled parking at?
And that is a good point. And we're gonna provide a couple of different options to our accessibility consultant, who we've worked with for many years. You can put accessible parking just about anywhere, but when we get to a certain distance from the entry point, then certain things come into play. However, when you have existing conditions, also things come into play. There is a little more leniency there. So we're working through those.
But our target right now is on Sixth to do some redesign of what's there. We may be infringing a little bit on the sidewalk component. We'll work through that to see where we can gain some ability to bring in the handicap parking there.
And sheriff's parking as well.
And the pedestrian plazas is also envisioned, of course, to be able to have emergency vehicles access only in that area as needed. But majority of the time, it would be for pedestrian use. We can go to the next one. So
So this is just to kind of walk you through, we've tilted the direction, just turned it 90 degrees. You'll see the plans show up that way, but just to reiterate, that secure tower where the elevator will go, that would be more for secure staff movement, judges, as well as those going into the second floor of the purchasing building on that connector between the two. And then the next item would be just noting that's the secure parking currently there. And as Denny mentioned, enclosing that for judges as well as the access for bringing in detainees to Sallyport in the basement. The secure screening lobby, you'll see that, a larger queuing space, ability for the sheriff's office, their staff to handle more folks coming in to move into the building. So it'll be a better situation for them. And then the purple add-on, again, is just the larger connector with public access to elevators and stairs. So they're completely in a separate movement in the building. Oh, and staff will have a separate movement. We'll show you that here in just a moment.
And Gina, if I could just add in very quickly that the larger secure screening area and the larger connector slash lobby, that helps us in terms of ARPA as well, for social distancing, those larger spaces, that meets ARPA requirements as well.
Is there any way that the secure tower elevator could also be made available to, like, the wheelchair bound, as a secondary ADA access point?
Well, the public lobby will accommodate wheelchair-bound public. And
I'm just looking to see as many access points as we can get. I've already been through this rodeo. I don't want to go through it again.
I'm sorry, don't we need that as access into the purchasing? I mean, since that's part of why we're doing that.
yeah, I'm not quite sure I understand the question, but
I think
we'll have multiple accessibility routes.
right.
Well, I mean, the question he's asking, from jail point, from my point, the elevator's supposed to work for the maintenance purchasing building, which also I thought we were adding that as a entry or point ADA to enter the purchasing building.
Well, what we're working on is we're exploring that element also being a staff entry. And we're working through that because we've got to work through some grading issues, and we'll go in that in more detail.
And I know there's grading issues.
But also, the staff will also be going through the queuing process as well. And so after our last meeting with the sheriff, we're creating a secondary entrance. That's something we need to talk with the sheriff's department about, because what's that security process there? Is it just going to be for judges, or is it also going to be for judges and staff? So, but we'll have multiple points for that to happen. So I'm not sure I answered the question, but accessibility, purchasing, jail, we'll have those taken care of.
But if this elevator is going to also serve maintenance, whom is it going to serve? Is it going to serve the public who wants access to maintenance more than ADA maintenance to more than one floor? And then if that's the case, it's not as secure as we first talked about.
Let's go and go to the floor plans.
No, I think in reality, the yellow box that we're focused on right now is really intended for a means of movement for staff and judges. It's not publicly envisioned at this moment, if that makes sense. There will be, those are the discussions Denny was talking about. There was a discussion, originally it was envisioned as maybe a secure judges entry. And then that evolved into discussions about secure judges and secure staff. But from an overall security standpoint, it hasn't been discussed at this point to then adding that third element
Yeah.
into allowing the public into
Yeah, it
that.
changes, that makes that's a big
Right.
Then
change.
it creates
But
additional.
right now,
security.
judges and staff have, access, they've got keypad, they've got secure way to get in and
Correct.
out.
So at the basement here, you're seeing that connector piece that connects both the purchasing building and the jail. That is for staff only.
Okay.
Judges and staff, yep, only. Even once you get into the building. So, because part of this whole concept here is you've got a secure movement side and you got a public side, and they are separated at all times.
Right.
The only way the public can get into any particular secure space is if you let them in through either escorting them in or they have clearance, anything like that.
Well, not knowing what we are gonna put on that floor above purchasing, it'd be hard to say who would be needing to go up there. I mean, it very well could be the general public, so that's a issue.
Well, so that elevator in question here, it will have it'll be controlled. You have to have a card. We can program that to where a judge gets on, they know it's a judge, and it takes you to where you want to go. It does not stop. It does not interact with anything else until the judge is in and out. Somebody comes in on the purchasing building side, they card in, they go up a floor. Nobody else gets on that floor. You're in the elevator at that time. That's how you're keeping it separated. It's how you program that elevator in question between the two. And we do that all the time. It's in secure buildings, sometimes you have that cross traffic of public and staff. How do you manage that? So we can manage that with that.
But it is a good discussion point, as you said, Judge, you're not sure in the future what may be on that second floor. And if it is going to have more public access requirements, then the functionality of this connector really does become more critical to outline how it works.
Public will not be able to get in there unless you allow. So.
Okay.
I hope I answered the question there. The best I could. So let's back up a second, kind of see let's go back to the previous slide where we're at, and kind of just see how things are stacking. Is this the next slide here?
This is the backup, yes.
Okay, so what you're seeing here is you got the downtown jail on the left and you've got the annex on the right. And this is just kind of a big picture on what is going where. Down on the basement level, of course, since we're down at the basement level, occupant load is to a minimum, and that's why we have the detainee holding there. And they have their dedicated circulation throughout the building, just for them. Also, what we're going to look at doing is, and it's also we're bringing our Sally Port. We have an existing, which works out well. We have an existing overhead delivery point there. We're going to use as a Sally Port. The rest of the floor will be used for clerk files. You have a lot of clerk files. So we're going to have a lot of mobile rolling files down there to max that out. Up on the first level, we've got the district clerk, which takes up pretty much all the first level. Hot Check has its own separate entry to the public. And then, of course, Sheriff's Office is sprinkled throughout the building, but they have their kind of security office there at the queuing area as well. Second floor is 2 criminal courts. The third floor is pretrial indigent defense. One of the things we have added is a visiting holding area on the third floor. This is not part of the original program. After walking through with the departments and the attorneys, this is for defense to be able to, outside the courtroom setting, visit with their clients. And it's on the third floor because it's equal distance to the second and fourth floor courtrooms. Fourth floor is courts, and up on the top floor we have adult probation ankle monitor. In the annex which we met with the DA a couple times, our assignment there was just to get in as many offices as possible and an entry point for the public to access that point. And then we have County Court at Law 3 over on the 3rd floor. So that is how we're stacking the floors. Go to the next slide. So here we just talked about this. This is the basement. We're coming into the holding area or the Sally Port area you're seeing there. And then we've got a couple of multi-holds and some single hold cells along with the control center and support spaces. The rest of the spaces will be mechanical. We are, to a large degree, emptying out the mechanical space. We're putting our air handlers on the roof and our generator not on the roof. A generator will go, we're proposing it to be across the street because one of the challenges of this site is there is no site. So we have no place to put the generator with a backup tank for about 8 to 12 hours. So we're working through that to locate both the new transformer for the site and the emergent generator for this site. So, so we will take the rest of the space up for clerk files. So right now we're working through a lot of that. Right now what's going on is we need to get ahead of our consultants, and right now they're needing to get ahead of us. And we're just kind of showing you a shot in time about where we are on this. The plans are being morphed as we speak because we are adjusting to the MEP systems that will work for this building. Part of the challenge is we have a low floor to floor, so we don't have horizontal ducts, they're all vertical. And so we are working through the existing structure to mark out zones for each floor so we can run a vertical duct in fan coils, which means we're gonna have some moving around of the floor plans. Once those get done, we'll go back to the end user and we'll say, this is where we're at. And we've got in 9 out of 10 things, hopefully 10 out of 10. But, you know, in order to make it work, we're having to do some minutia and some altering of the plans to get that to work.
And on this plan, just to, so you'll see it on repeated, is that orange box kind of in the back middle is intended as the location for our secure elevator. So that will only be for sheriff office detainee movement. So it does not go to every floor. It'll skip the first floor, starts in the basement, and then goes up to service the floors they're required to. And then the darker pink locations are the elevators for staff movement, secure access there as we anticipate. And then you'll go to the next slide and you'll see where the public component starts to draw in. So that extended public lobby, as you can see to the left, has an elevator, 2 elevators for public use. One is oversized. And then the stairwell as part of that, along with public restrooms. We're able to stack those. That's a cheaper way for us to put it in, a lot easier construction, so.
So that's in the existing Sallyport area. So all of that will get torn up, all that floor, because it's a mess, it's leveled, it's it's sloped, all those things. And so that'll just be a clean takeout is what we envision on that. District clerk on the first floor, it's taken up the majority of the floor, and then over there on the left, you got hot checks with their public entry over in that point. And we have got everything in on this floor, so.
And then there's some security office space right next to the queuing. So they've got ability to watch cameras, the monitors, and also have equipment stored for easy access, so.
Next slide. So this is second floor. And so again, we have courtroom A and B on either side, and getting in what they're wanting, audience, dedicated jury rooms, things of that nature, and their supports down. So these are the floors that really dictate the project, second, fourth. So everything kind of revolves around these 2 floors here. Go ahead, next slide. here, you see the third floor working around the open areas on the downtown jail. In this case, we got pretrial indigent defense, and then we have holding on the third floor. And then over the annex, we've got an additional courtroom or courtroom staying. But we, again, got the audience that we needed to be was 73. And of course, DA offices as well. We're needing to add some additional toilets here because not only of use and capacity, but again, code. It's just a pure math. So many occupants, you gotta have so many lavatories, so many toilets.
The other piece about putting the larger holding space on this floor was we're also connected to what's already there, serving the 54th. It's on the kind of Sky Bridge connector piece. So we're able to allow the bailiff's sheriff's office to connect and have access to all those holding spaces.
So then we stack up to the next floor. Again, it is identical to the second floor. Next slide. So again, we're just stacking here, and then we go up to the next floor, on the fifth floor, and we have adult probation, and we have ankle monitoring, and we're also doing our best to squeeze in some conference spaces for attorneys. So what we've done is we've met with the departments enough to know what the intent is, what they need, and what they want, and we're backing off of that. Now we're going back and we're getting in our mechanical systems, and we'll come back to the end user and say, this is where we're at. So we're sizing our air handling units to get on the roof. We just received those and the weights. We're coordinating the structure on that. There's a lot of plug and play with the structure here and how we feed these systems and how we get through the existing structure, where we can get through and where we can't get through. So that's some of what we're dealing with here as we just work through different options here. So we have civil, they're doing their best to get some existing information to infill on how we feed the building. We'll probably have to have some additional feeds because of just bringing up to code and also just what we can find from as-built. We'll have to have a separate water feed and fire feed. We will have a booster pump on this building. Then it got a lot with our MEP. So in April is when we'll have our consultant meetings. They've got far enough down the road, have enough information to review. We'll meet with the different kind of departments, the governing agencies, fire, things of those nature, and see that where we're going is that we're all good. So a lot of moving pieces right now, but the madness is we've got to kind of now understand how the mechanical systems affect the floor plans, and then we will come back around. So.
Any questions
That's where
about
we're
the plan?
Any questions?
About the plan? On the open space, or what's it called, open to below, and the way those are, I guess, walled in as they go up, is there any functionality to them that you can feed anything up through them because nothing will be seen in there?
So one of the good characteristics, there's many, but one of them is that's where our courtrooms are. What that allows is a proper volume for a courtroom. So at that area, that courtroom will be 1.5 or 2 stories, 2 volumes. And so we're gonna keep that as is.
Okay.
Because you really, for a space that size, you need to get that volume up so you're not, feel like you're in a cave.
Right, yeah.
So.
I know that this time of year, one of the things we talk about is March Madness. We talk about first 4 in, first 4 out. Have we discussed the first 4 out if we can't afford what's there, as far as we have to have this, but this is, if we have to start backing out, do we have a orderly way to back out?
Yeah, and these guys can speak to that, but we do have some things we're gonna break out,
Okay,
so we can also track it,
right,
but also, some things that we need to have because of ARPA.
right, yeah,
We know the mechanical systems, they are what they are, And so, but we do have a list of things that we will track separately. Because when we get through DD, there'll be a large pricing exercise, and we'll come back to you and say, here's where we're at.
Exactly. And at that point, if it's something we say that's, we don't have it, what can we take out and still be functional?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've had the big picture discussions of how to structure our budgeting and how we can potentially phase portions or elements of the project so that if it does get to that point where we gotta make some.
And you hope it doesn't, but.
Understand, but those
Realistically.
discussions have started to have so that we can structure our budgeting to, so when we get to that point, we can have those discussions with the court and allow y'all to make those, you know, the decisions at the right time. So that phasing approach has been discussed.
Okay.
So I think with that, I think, is the next slide the schedule slide?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so big picture, how is this, we talked about, you know, kind of how the plans have evolved. They're in the design development stage right now, kind of where are we headed, big picture as a project. So right now, what Denny's talking about is, so the design team's in the process of, now that they've had all the user group meetings, gotten past schematic design, we're well into design development, the consultants are on board. They're preparing a set of design development documents. So the plan is for that to be issued here sometime in May. We can then take it, and that's gonna be a point in time where we'll actually go do a full-blown detailed budget. All the budgeting that we've produced to date is based on schematic documents, it's based on things we're hearing, it's based on what we know the scope is, and so we've tried to capture all that scope and what we think that scope means when we get to seeing it on paper. So I think we've envisioned it well enough that we feel pretty good about that process. But once those design development documents are issued, that's when we'll have a much more evolved set of documents with mechanical information, electrical information, finishes, things where we can then really put and expand upon our estimate and produce what we call a DD estimate. That will allow us to check into our cost range, say, are we still thinking we're still in the cost range? So that's a big happening here in May, June of this year. Some other things relative to the outside funding, these ARPA funds and some of these outside commitments. So there are some commitments for when those funds must be obligated. So the strategy that we have right now with the project, so we've got, in addition to the design development documents, Denny and Gina and their team are working on issuing what we call an early package of actual construction documents for portions of the work. We anticipate that will happen, call it October of this year. That will allow us to then bid those portions of the work, these early packages. And the things we're thinking, there's a make-ready package is what we're calling it. There's things we have to go into that building and do to get it into a safe position so we can go to work in there. We gotta get some power, some temporary services run up through the building so we can light the place up. We can secure, if you walk around in there right now, the cells have been taken out. You've got those mezzanine areas on those floors that are unprotected. There's still some additional demolition that has to take place. There's some other structural demolition that they're talking about with creation of new shafts or getting existing shafts out of the way. So there's still some demolition work and this early work that has to happen. That's kind of one of our packages. We'll have a demolition package for that remaining demolition work. We'll have a structural work package. There's some internal structure where we have to take structural steel columns and foundations all the way from the basement, all the way up through the building, build these two giant trusses on multiple floors to support the removal of some existing columns to create that volume of space for the courtrooms. There's gonna be the foundations and structural components for the new building elements, the public lobby expansion, the connector that we're talking about on the backside, against the existing facility building. So all those structural components, we can go procure that material and start to perform that work early. We're gonna have a mechanical equipment, just really the equipment package. We'll go procure all that mechanical equipment early, and then we're gonna have an electrical equipment package so we can go get. In today's, switch gear, main electrical distribution panels are still a super long lead and issue for projects. So we want to get out in front of that and go procure that equipment as part of this early package. So that all happens starting in October, we'll get the documents, we'll bid it, we'll prepare, call it an interim guaranteed maximum price for that amount, come back to the court so that we can then put the county in position to make some decisions so that those funds can meet the obligation deadline by the end
So
of this year.
you're comfortable we can meet those ARPA
Yes, sir.
deadlines?
That obligation commitment, and then from what we
Right,
understand.
that's the whole one of the big.
It's not an
purposes of
obligation
the
commitment
PERP Act.
now, it's a spending commitment. It's.
Correct. The spending commit, what we've understood with working with the county is these funds have to be obligated by December 31st of this year, and then they have to be spent by December 31, 2026.
Right.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
The
And
overall
you're
project schedule accommodates.
comfortable with that?
Yes, sir. So then what we're thinking is, we think, based on all that being said, that we're jumping out there the first of next year. We're actually physically starting work with these early packages. At that same kind of time period, the full set of construction documents will be developed. We'll bid that work, do this same process again with the county in the first part of next year, or we can start that remaining construction work late first quarter, early second quarter of the following year, which means that we're finishing this project up from our construction projection in the third quarter of 2026. We do have a little bit of buffer time to make sure that we can expend all those funds and have all those funds expended in that time and complete the work there in late 2026.
Just the ARPA work in 2026?
No, the entire project.
So finished it?
Yes, sir.
Kind of answered my next question.
Yes, sir. So 2026 is the completion date right now for the
Well,
work.
that's correct.
And those are
Wow.
that's the way we're gonna get there. Now, before we jump to the next slide, I gotta give a lot of credit to the presentation that was done earlier. I Can Learn in my adult life and continuing education. She gave me a little nugget, so I just want to remind the group, let's handle the hard well. Embrace the challenge. So let's flip to the next page. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So really, big picture, we've updated our budget. It's really been just really two pieces of movement since the last time before the schematic design process was started, and now that we've kind of gotten through that. So really, the two things that have changed, one is on me. There was an elevator. I wasn't sure what we were doing with the existing bridge. There's the existing bridge, an existing elevator, and those existing holding cells. I really wasn't sure that was part of the project when we first started. I didn't account for any budgeting for that. It's not big dollars, but it's now accounted for. And the biggest thing I'm trying to do with my budget updates, since it's a range, is try to make sure that I've captured the scope of work as I think it's gonna show once the documents start to be produced. The other big element is we're about 2.2 times bigger as far as what I originally envisioned for that public lobby element. The purple box, if you remember, that now comes around the corner. I think it's definitely needed after sitting through all the schematic design presentations so that we can fulfill really, like Denny says, the courtrooms are driving the job. So, meeting the requirements about how many people and folks have to be in that space to work and view the proceedings, that really drove, I think, the necessity for that to create that a little bit of square footage. It actually works out a lot better. We've started looking at site utilization wise, how we're gonna actually construct the work. That element actually doing what it's doing is actually a real benefit during the construction phase to us. So in reality, you've seen movement in the numbers. I still think that we are in a $50 to $55 million range when this is all said and done, which is within the original cost model. I think the last time I presented some budgets, we were $45 million to just under $56 million as far as a cost range. I really think even incorporating the additional, it's almost 5,000 square feet basically that we've added to the project relative to that expansion of that 5-story element. So even with that being said, I still truly believe we're in that same cost range. We're in that $50 to $55 million overall project budget is where I expect it to come in. This is just an update. I didn't really change any of my methodology when we were just looking at this thing from a conceptual standpoint. I just purely added the additional elevator in the bridge, and I just purely added the additional square footage for that new public lobby element, basically, without changing any of I didn't go back and look at and adjust any of my
and again, this gets refined after the design development documents are given. That's when we are actually able to really hone in on all the parts and pieces.
I understand.
Yeah, John and Kevin have been in all the design development meetings. So they see what's going on. They see what the nature of these spaces are. And so, that is always, having a contractor on board during design phase is what you want.
So we're saying, on the ROM estimate range, the low was 47.8, the high was 59.8, and you think we're gonna be somewhere around the 55?
50 to 55.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Which
And
is all-
Dustin, what did you say we had available?
Yes, sir. So we have the 14 million in ARPA and then roughly 41.9 million in the CO. So we're setting it right at 56 million.
We're sitting right at that estimate, okay. That's, okay.
And just one thing to remember next year when I bring it up is that the consequences of doing this means there's space available over here in this building, but there will need to be some modifications to make it as highly functional as the new facility next door. So anyhow, don't worry about that. That's just
Well,
for
that's
us
the
to-
big picture discussion, and that's what these meetings are about as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
I feel good about this, I mean, personally. The work that you've done and that 2026 date that you threw out, I felt a lot better about. I wasn't sure, I tell people I talked my wife into voting for me, so I've got 4 more years. I'm just wondering if I was gonna see anything in that time period, so.
Well, we don't have any project on our board really that does not have early release packages because there are so many long lead items. We got to nail down the generator,
Yeah.
transformer as well, things like that. Once we get around with the AV equipment, we may need to early release those as well.
So you talked about moving that generator off-site, but you never gave a.
So go back to the very beginning and I'll,
So where is it currently?
it was in the basement and the diesel tank for it was buried in between
That's good. right
purchasing
there.
building and been filled with concrete, so obviously that's part of that demo work there. Today, we can't do that today with, we need that space between, and plus we can't put it
Right.
in the building. So if you look across the street,
So that pad that's,
across Fifth Street,
In front of the records building.
from the
kind of
records building,
Adjacent to it, I suppose.
so what we're gonna look at doing, because part of the, we just got through doing this on the project, we got a historically protected site on the other side, so we don't have room for it on our site, and we can't put it on the historical site. So, and we need access to it as well. So what we're looking at doing is putting it across the street, and then we come underground, it cleans up all those utilities
Okay.
along
When you guys giving up an office?
So you would be talking about putting it right next to, in that parking lot, in the,
Yes.
okay.
And bury the tank? Is that what you're
No.
saying? No,
Tank
it's
is
above ground. How big are we talking about? I mean, what are we talking about size of this generator? We're talking about size of a,
It's probably the same size as that one that feeds IT and things like that right now. I mean, they get smaller all the time too.
The building's being fed from this power pole right here. What's coming in, everything's coming in overhead. You have all this spider webs here. Gonna go here, underground, or put a pole here, and it's gonna go over here. Now, also what this allows us to do, it allows us for access without having to get into here. We can have the proper clearance, access, when utilities companies come out there as well. They're not in here, and we can put it out in this parking lot. And what's driving it is just the site. There is no site, and of course this, and we just got through doing the same thing on the project. It's literally the exact same reason why. So, and that's one of the costs that we're gonna track separately, is that one right there.
Okay.
Because we realize that's an additional expense, not accounted for. When we start looking through it, you can't put the generator in the basement, you can't put it on the roof, because when that thing goes off, it'll rock and roll the whole building. This is an existing structure, we can't really accommodate for it. So once we put the generator over there, we're gonna pick the transformer, we're putting it over there as well.
and we're talking about a backup generator.
Correct.
So, okay.
Redundant, yeah, redundancy. Okay.
Okay.
Kevin, John, anything else?
I don't have anything.
Well, so, good report. Excellent. Let us know who or what is in y'all's way of meeting these deadlines, from permitting to all those kind of things. So, don't sit there and wring your hands, without us knowing why you're doing it, and so we can help. Again, I appreciate all of our team, TJ and Ken and,
Now, they've-
Dustin and all
Dustin
that.
and his crew, they've been great to work with.
Yeah, Zane, John, I don't wanna leave anybody else out, but, also the SO and their security side looking at it, and, everybody's really been a great part of this thing, so. All right,
Thank you very much.
thank y'all very much.
y'all. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
All right,
So much.
is there a motion to approve this report for recording purposes?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass. Let's take a 5-minute recess.
Recording in progress.
In the second round, I can't remember.
It's, we're down in that lower bracket. No, we're not. We get Clemson or.
Hey, I've been watching this game. Yeah. At the game? Season 2, you're making progress. So it's good that we're not in progress. Oh my goodness. No, but I'm an NC State fan now. I watch them.
5 straight wins, 5 straight wins. They sure upset the apple cart on the odds makers.
That Baycott.
Pretty amazing.
That's what I like.
Now, let's see, I can't remember, is NC State the Wolfpack or the Tar Heels?
Sure don't. He was big in
Or the
the
Wolfpack.
championship 2 years ago.
Okay, NC State is the Wolfpack and NC is the Tar Heels.
Yeah.
That's what's good about this though. Anybody can get up there.
Session? Okay. Justin, you wanna pick it up from here?
Yes, sir. Judge, if we could go to the supplemental agenda, item B1 is authorization of professional services agreement with public sector personnel consultants. This is for classification and compensation study. I'd like to call on Anna.
Thank you, Dustin. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I have here for the court a request to approve the professional services agreement for public sector personnel consultants for the purposes of a compensation study, a countywide compensation study. Before I get into the details of services, I wanted to just give some background on why I'm putting forth the proposal. So back in November, HR met with the court to have a thorough discussion about our existing compensation program, what HR had been doing to maintain the compensation structure and what our current practices were for collecting comparative information. And so we had a great discussion, and what came out of that was this idea to have an external consultant come in and conduct a compensation study for the county, mostly because it had been some time before, since an external or third-party consultant came in and gave us guidance on our compensation program and administrative guidelines and things like that. And so I think now is a great time to move forward with that. So since November, that's what HR has been working on, is researching and getting into detailed in-depth questions with consultants just to see who the best fit for the county is. And so that brings me to public sector personnel consultants. That's the agreement you have before you today. They'll be helping us review the 2 major components of a compensation program, and so that consists of the structure and classification system itself, which is how an organization would assign value to each position function, and then categorize it accordingly to be able to assign compensation. And then the other component is the actual individual salary compared to external salaries of similar like positions for other competing agencies. So it's a salary report or benchmark report. And so this consultant can actually help us do both. And of course, with the goal of keeping and maintaining a compensation program that's going to help us retain and attract talented employees. Before I go kind of any further, I actually want to invite Sam Hines. He is online with us through Zoom to just share a little bit of brief history and about his consulting group and a little detail about the services they'll help the county with. Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, good morning, Sam.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm a public sector personnel consultant. Just a little bit about our firm. We've been in business a little bit over 40 years. As the name suggests, we do public sector services. We do job classification studies and salary surveys for public sector employers across the United States. We do a lot of work in the West and then in the state of Texas. In the recent past, we've had the opportunity to work with a few of your neighbors, some other counties here in Texas, including Bell County, Ellis County, Kerr County, Galveston County. We've worked with the cities of Killeen, Belton, Waco, a ton in the Dallas Metroplex area. So that's not to say that we know everything about every position, but just that we're qualified to ask the right sorts of questions and have a lot of experience building out salary plans for organizations that meet the budgetary constraints of each group and that also allow you guys to kind of have a better understanding of where you stack up in relation to those employers that you compete with to obtain, retain your employee base.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what the agreement we have here before you that will kind of give us this compensation study totals $25,000. The services will be throughout the time period, not going over this calendar year. And the agreement, or that $25,000 amount actually would be a budget neutral amount with the help of a budget amendment, moving monies already existing within the HR budget. And so I also want to share kind of a second phase or another way I want to break out this compensation study just to provide the court with more options and recommendations. And so public sector personnel consultants, again, a very experienced group, but is mainly working with public agencies. And so I actually plan on bringing at a later court date another consultant group that has a more private sector experience or background, who will actually just be focusing in our compensation structure to provide the court with an additional option or recommendation for the compensation structure itself. Just because since it has been since 1998 that the structure itself has been reviewed, there could be a chance that a consultant comes in and says we need to either change the structure or completely replace it with another one. And so when faced with a big decision and change like that can have long-term effects, I think that it's best that the court consider a couple of different options and perspective. And so that'll come at a later date. I just wanted to share that with the court now that will come. And so together, I don't expect the cost to be more than $42,500 with
Total.
both consultants coming in, providing guidance. And then I also want to share with the court that I'm excited to have these external partners come in and help us strategize about our program. Of course, it is with the understanding that the implementation of any resulting recommendations are at the discretion of the Commissioner's Court, of course. And that is the long and short of it. And does the court have any questions for myself or for Sam?
Anna, you did say, in regards to this public sector analysis fee, that you got the budget for it, you would just need a budget amendment to move dollars around. Is that
Yes,
correct?
sir. So this agreement will be budget neutral.
Okay. And they, my understanding, they will provide local government and private sector salary comparisons.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. And I guess my last question then,
Excuse me, you're talking about both consultants.
no, just this one. According to their statement here, this report from public sector personnel consultants will include local government and private sector salary comparisons. So they give you comps for both. That's under G1.
Right.
So I'm
That's
hopeful
right.
that's what we
That's
get.
for the benchmark report.
Yeah,
That's the
okay.
individual salary. being
And this will
compared.
be available to us before the next budget meetings start, correct?
That is correct. I
Okay.
believe there should be a draft. It all depends, of course, on the execution of the agreement. Following that, there should be a draft of that benchmark report within 60 days.
60 days, okay, all right, thank you.
That's before the budget starts. Perfect. Okay. Other thoughts? Okay. All right. What's the decision of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we can move back up to the top of the agenda, to the consent agenda. And Judge, I don't believe y'all have done this, so I think the suggested pulls are E3A, E3B, and E3C.
That's correct. We have not, so, with those, are there any other pulls other than those previously mentioned? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of those pulls?
So move.
Second.
Have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass. Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Judge, sorry.
Well, no, E3A, HR matter, precinct 2.
And Judge, this is just the standing item on, should you need to take any action on the vacancy, so I believe no action is necessary today.
Okay.
And E3B is County Sheriff. Anna?
Yes. Thanks again, Dustin. So I have here a request from the sheriff's office to retitle and repurpose an existing vacant position under the jail. So the position in question is the adult education instructor position number 182. And so this position was intended to assist inmates attain their GED. However, the program is not suited for what is supposed to be a short-term jail setting. So the jail has found another need for the position, and so they want to repurpose this as a discharge coordinator position that would be responsible for patient care coordination specific to inmates with mental health needs. There's a large volume of mental health consumers in custody. That amount ranges anywhere from 450 to 470 inmates on average in any given month. And so their primary function, this discharge coordinator position, their primary function would be to plan for soon to be released inmates with mental health care needs, plan their continuation of care and placement in the hopes that this will avoid rearrest or recidivism. And HR has reviewed the description of the functions provided by the sheriff's office. It actually would not involve any change in the existing pay grade. It's currently a B9. That pay grade would stay the same. The current budget is $59,973. There would actually just be a slight decrease that we would recommend to that budget of $2,320 for a recommended budget of $57,653. And the request is to have this done immediately because the need is there now, and doing it now would allow us to post for this position, and typically for positions requiring things like a master's in social work, or the like, does take some time to attract qualified applicants. And so that's the reason for this mid-year change. So if the court has any questions for me or for David.
Okay, thank you. We put a lot of resources around handling mental health issues and, you know, justifiably so. I mean, it's a huge issue and it's complex. It's extremely complex. But is this a duplication of duties that are being performed now with not MHMR, but behavioral health networks involvement and those kind of things of being able to, I'm assuming this follows that person from release to services, right?
Correct. And what this position provides is that level of integration between BHN, medical, the jail, the courts, the district attorney's office. The jail has been participating in the special housing unit meetings, and those meetings consist of those contributors. You have BHN, you have the mental health court, Michelle Flowers, Tara Decker, Jay Tankersley, Freddie, all these county entities that are coming together to try and address some of these people that have mental health issues in the jail, to try and get these people through the system as efficiently as possible. When we're rolling with a 1,397 population, 41% or so is mental health consumers, and the state is taking approximately 3 to 4 inmates per month, the state's not addressing the problem at scale. And we take, most of our misdemeanors are never even addressed. So the average wait time for ASH is a year, and the average time that you can be sentenced on a misdemeanor is a year. So most people time out before they ever receive any mental health services, and they're just released to the street. And what this helps us address is, number one, someone to help us track the statistics for it, because we're gathering statistics currently through our medical department, and it's done through a very arbitrary and convoluted means of tracking medications and medication dispensing. It's very hard it's not hard, it's time consuming. It's very time consuming to do. Tracking these inmates, making sure that the services that they receive, if they do not receive services from the state prior to release due to timing out, they are being connected with those community services. BHN does not provide that for us in the facility. There is no duplication. We have talked to Michelle Flowers and BHN specifically, and both of those entities are the ones that pitched this idea to us and said this would be a great resource to help in the jail to cut down on the average man days, because of course that's also my concern. Community services and getting these inmates back into proper services are important, but also the cost to the taxpayers. So there is a definitive cost. We have 35 people currently sitting on clearinghouse, and of those 35 people, they've cumulatively spent in jail so far this go around about 7,753 days. That is almost $1 million worth of man days that they've been sitting in jail. So anything we can do to try to cut down on that total cost of how these people are just languishing in jail, never receiving services, being released, not being connected with any services, and then just committing the same criminal trespass offenses, minor petty crimes, coming back into jail and sitting there for a year.
Okay, well, and I've used it myself. Cost is a reason to do things, and or offsetting cost. I just want to be sure we're not, there's just so many moving parts, and I mean, you're involved in part of it, and I'm involved in Commissioner Jones, and all of us to a certain extent.
And Judge, this is going to be an evolution, right? If through the coordination with it, we're very fluid with this in what we need to do to make functional change. And if that position ends up migrating or changing through the meetings with the other contributors in the SHU, we will of course come back and make those recommendations to the court. Right now, from Michelle Flowers, who we lean on heavily for our from the social worker side of things, as far as what certifications are necessary, what degree, and I've been coordinating with Anna, HR, and then Michelle, because she is our subject matter expert for the county on what's appropriate. She has made the recommendation of, I believe, bachelor's degree and social worker essentially, but no like LWCP or anything like that as far as certifications initially for this, but that could evolve. And if that need does evolve through the SHU meetings, that's definitely information we want to bring back to the court so that y'all are abridged of what's going on, how it's working, and what future plans we have to try to mitigate those costs and social impacts.
All right, I look forward to that information when it comes
sir.
available. Any other questions or comments?
There's already one person in this, that holds this position, you're saying?
No, no one holds this position. We have one person in medical that is the patient care coordinator, and they medicate or they deal with all of the non-mental health issues when the inmates get released. So about 56% of our inmates are on some form of medication that is.
And that's the patient care coordinator?
Correct.
And that's the person doing all this work right now?
Correct. That is correct. Well, no one is doing it because the amount of work that's done just for the patient care coordination for medications, continuity of care for regular medical conditions is overwhelming in itself.
So there's no one currently doing what you're going to ask this person to do?
That is correct.
And did I hear you say that, I don't know, is it the opinion of SO that this will cut down on recidivism?
It's our opinion, but it's not just the sheriff's office opinion because we're not the resident experts.
Right,
It is
I understand.
the people from the SHU meeting as well, such as.
They're the ones that think,
attorneys,
they're the ones that made that comment then.
Yes.
Okay.
This has been a long time.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Whole discussion that there's a gap
Yeah.
in care,
Right.
and this is try to connect that gap.
Okay, sounds good.
I mean, it's, so,
It's a case manager is essentially
Yeah,
what it is that
that's right.
kind of rides with this person through the process. And if we're going to try to select groups of people for them to ride with and push them through the process as efficiently as possible to get them on to the next step and out of our incarcerated inpatient care facility is what it is now essentially. Because the average wait time being, 12 months for misdemeanors and 18 months for MSU, these people are just timing out, going to the street, no services, coming right back in.
well, if you listen to some of the stories of the graduates of the mental health court as well as the drug and alcohol court, a lot of them, they credit the fact that the community reached out to them and guided them to where they could get help. So they finally, became back with proper medication, could make good decisions and therefore graduate from these classes.
Absolutely. And linking those people up with medication is one of the, medication after release from the facility is one of the key deals, because if you look at the amount for the medical side of the amount of medication that is picked up once that has been turned into the pharmacy upon release of the inmate, it is single-digit percentages that are engaging in that. So if we need to have some community outreach programs in order to make sure those people are maintaining medication plans that have been established for them by psychologists and psychiatrists, that will severely help or greatly help us.
Okay. All right. What's any other questions or comments? Not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
E3C is Constable Precinct 5. Anna?
So I have here a request to approve a uniform allowance per deputy allotment. It's kind of a housekeeping item. So there was recent approval to increase the uniform allowance budget for Constable Precinct 5 from $240 to $1,600. And so something that just needs to accompany that is an outline of the allotment per field deputy for uniform allowance for the fiscal year. And so that's what this is. And it outlines that each deputy will receive $800 per fiscal year of that uniform allowance budget. So this is needed in order to move forward with actual payment of that allowance per paycheck. So this is that final piece.
It's just a bookkeeping, the amount was already approved, so we're just doing a bookkeeping procedure to know where,
Yes,
up to whom it'll be
alignment for
charged
how much
against.
each deputy will get.
Okay, okay, very good.
All right, any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second. Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item F, bids, RFPs, RFQs. F1's authorization of recommendation for bid 24-002, 2017-2019 used bucket truck from McLennan County Road and Bridge Precinct 3. Ken?
Yes, sir. We sent out this bid. We received one response from Specialty Heavy Commercial Equipment LLC. Bidder bid $92,269.50 for a 2017 Ford F-550, and it's in accordance with the bid 24-002 specifications. We've contacted Precinct 3. They're good with this vehicle. And so, but I want to share, in our bid, we had we requested money in there in a bid, and we just asked some total, and there was an amount in there for delivery. Precinct 3 decided that they were going to pick it up, so Suzanne wanted the court to know that in reality, we're going to pay an amount of $91,169.50.
Okay. All right, any questions? What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
F2 is authorization of renewal for RFP 19-019, license to place vending machines on McLennan County property with automatic chef canteen. Ken?
Yes, sir. We contacted Automatic Chef Canteen, and they said they would like to continue our association. The commission paid to McLennan County is 23% net with a minimum of $1,400 monthly. And Mr. Baker with Automatic Chef said that there'd be that they don't have any increase for the items in the vending machines at this time. And if approved by the court, this would be the 5th renewal, and it would be renewed from June 1, 2024 through May 31, 2025.
So the 23% is what we get, but it goes against the minimum of $1,500.
We
month.
get 23% with a minimum. We get a minimum of $1,400 per month.
So if it fell below 23%, we'd still get,
We'd still get the $1,400.
okay.
Yeah.
How much do we get from it?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
Auditor
look.
question, I
I'd have
guess.
to ask Francis.
And she's not available, but.
We'd get a minimum of 14 times 12, so
Yes.
28 on to 14,000, what would it be? 16,800?
Per machine. All right, any other questions on that? What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
F3 is regarding the scope of services with Mundo and Associates for McLennan County Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan Update, authorization invoice number 5. This invoice totals $7,477.50, and progress is now 80% complete. It's been reviewed and recommended for approval.
All right, any questions?
Estimated completion date and presentation?
I believe, let me see if I can see the schedule. Looks like they have a public hearing coming up in April, at the end of April, and then we'll be coming to court in May for another public hearing, it looks like, and an update to the court commissioner.
Very good.
I'll verify that.
That's fine. Thank you.
All right, thanks. What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
F4 is authorization of renewal for bid 22-009, roadside cleanup services, all precincts with all-around maintenance and janitorial. Ken?
Cinnamon took some time and was calling to see if this agreement with all-around maintenance, that the precincts would like to keep it. It's our understanding that they would. It would be, all-around maintenance stated that there'd be no price increase or changes to the current contract agreement. And if approved by the court, the renewal would be from July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
Okay, any questions or comments? What's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve the renewal of bid 22-009.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Under item G, contracts and interlocal agreements, G1, it can be pulled with no action. We addressed that on the
All right,
supplemental.
pull with no action on G1.
G2 is regarding the use agreement with Waco Rowing Club, doing business as Waco Rowing Center for Rowing Championship event at Trading House Lake Park. G2A's authorization of the event action plan, and G2B's authorization of the inclement weather plan. These have been reviewed and are similar to last year's and recommended for approval. And just as a reminder, we will be holding the mass gathering permit hearing in judge's office, or it'll be in the commissioner's courtroom. The judge will preside over that at a date in early April. And we've sent the information out to all those required by statute.
Okay, any questions or comments? Anybody want to volunteer to be a rower? All right. What's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, motion made and second to approve G2A and G2B. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those pass.
And we need to defer G2C. We're still waiting on that certificate of liability insurance.
All right,
Second.
I have a motion second to defer. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those pass.
Your item H, capital improvement and construction projects. H2 is regarding capital improvement projects for the Cameron Park Zoo. Agreement with City of Waco, authorization of invoice. This invoice totals $830,476.48. It has been reviewed by the auditor's office and is recommended for approval.
All right, any questions or comments? I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those pass.
H3 is regarding construction of Panther Branch Road Bridge at Rock Springs Creek, bid 20-018. Agreement with Knife River Corporation, authorization of application for payment number 3. Zane?
Okay.
This is pay application number 3 by Knife River for the Panther Branch Road Bridge, totaling $177,204.91. The application has been reviewed by the consultant and by myself, and it's recommended for approval.
All right, any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I have a motion second. Any other discussion? Is this generally the kind of the cost of that installation? I mean,
Yes, sir.
barring any unusual,
Correct. Barring any change orders to increase the price for this low water crossing on Panther Branch Road is $886,817.65.
okay,
Just short of $900,000.
yes, sir. Okay, I hope it's a good one. All right, is there a motion to approve?
I already made a motion to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we get a second?
Yes.
Okay. Motion made second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Judge, quickly, just to remind you guys, there was only one way in and one way out, and it would wash out quite often.
Yeah.
Plus, we had entered into an agreement with TxDOT years ago before it came into office.
Right.
That we would do that, so. Hate to spend 900,000, but it's well spent.
You know,
That's correct. It's a concrete bridge too.
You can only blame your predecessor for 10 years, and then after that you can't.
Hey.
All right, I got it. Okay, thank you.
Set me up quick.
Okay.
H4 is an update regarding the 415 Columbus Avenue site demolition. TJ?
Morning.
So just to kind of give you an update on where we are, the electricity was re-terminated 3 weeks ago, so everything is good to go there. Baron Bowen finally got through all the permit process with the city. Walker Partners has agreed to get the bid documents in our hands this afternoon. So, I mean, with Ken's approval, I think we can probably come back to court on the next agenda with an appropriate bid date to get it out there. As long as we don't have any issues with the bid documents, of course.
So can we approve it, subject to y'all not having a problem with the bid document? I mean, I get nervous when these projects just seem to
Go forever.
sit there, and so just like I've mentioned to others, who or what is in our way to.
I will share, I've worked with them on the bid documents. There was some elements they added for the fencing around the property that I had not seen, but the rest of it I have, and so I shouldn't have any problems with it. Mainly when I come to court, it's usually just for the permission to advertise, which I technically wait for those documents in my hands before I write an advertisement, but,
So who all reviews those documents? You and who else?
well, TJ, and
Who's the
working
same?
with Walker Partners,
Okay.
so.
But, you know, this would be my comment, of course, you look out the window every day and see that thing and think, I'm gonna look out there, one of these days it'll be gone. And I know Commissioner Perry would have really appreciate that, but it concerns me, it's so open, gaps in the gate, I mean, in the fence, not the gate, the fence, it invites problems to me, and the sooner we can get that cleared, the better off we are. I don't think we've had an invoice in 5 months,
Right, it's been some time.
5 months on it.
Yeah.
So, just, I'm with the judge.
Well, there for a long time, we had no, we couldn't start anything until we had the electric moved, and we didn't even have a date. I mean, that was the real issue right there, and that was pretty much on Encore, trying to, waiting for them to get their part done. But I did give them the Walker Partners to go ahead and give me the bid documents a good while back, but then the person working on it had some family issues, as we've heard before, but that they have been working on them, and like I say, we should have them shortly.
Okay.
So back to the judge's question, what can we do to speed it up ahead of time before the next, I mean, is there anything legally or?
Well,
Dustin, or-
Dustin, can we add an action to this? It says as long as the document's reviewed by Zane, TJ, and Walker Partners, that they can go ahead and get the bid documents out, or do we need to come back to court for that?
You might want to.
No, we'll need to come back, and I think just next agenda, if y'all are okay and Ken's okay, we can just go ahead and do that authorization of the publication and have it ready, and then once the documents are back, we can get that done.
There's probably still a little bit of work I need to do on the documents after I get them. That's usually the truth.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
But the electricity is not an issue anymore.
No, sir.
We're good to go.
Like that big pole that's sitting right beside the building out in the middle, it's
That'll
just
go
dead,
away.
and there's a
It's
line
dead now.
running across, it's all dead.
Yeah, we relocated all the way back to the creek line,
And
then
went
across the
across.
back of the property.
Right.
So, and refed the historic home.
So that removal of that pole, the wire, and all that'll be part of the demolition then?
Yep.
All right, with pleasure to the court.
Motion to approve.
It's not a,
Motion to accept the update for recording purposes.
There you go. All right, and I have a second on that,
second.
and, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass. Thank you, TJ. Thank you.
H5 is regarding McLennan County Downtown Jail remodel for courtrooms and office space, agreement with Brinkley Sergeant Wigington, authorization of invoice number 17. This invoice totals $119,652.10. It's been reviewed and recommended for approval.
All right, any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
A motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass.
For item I, budget amendments, I-1s regarding the FY24 budget. Haley?
Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. Item I-1A is a budget amendment for the general fund for 170th District Court to increase the visiting judges' compensation from within this department. Item I-1B is for the general fund for jail medical to reclass funding to software from within the department to cover an Adobe license cost. I-1C is for the general fund for HR to increase their other services and charges from within the department. And this is a budget amendment related to the items that Anna discussed, associated with the compensation review project. Item I1D is in the general fund for Road and Bridge Precinct 4. It's a request to increase professional development for costs for the remainder of the fiscal year. And then item I1E needs to be pulled with no action.
All right, I1E is pulled with no action. Is there a motion to approve I1A through I1D?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Item K, grant proposals. K1 is our ARPA discussion. K1B is regarding the subrecipient agreement with City of Riesel, Texas, authorization of revised draw request number 1. And Haley, you can feel free to add anything to this, but this draw request was initially submitted back in August. And after the auditor's office has gone through and reviewed it, this is a revised draw request totaling $25,602.03. And it's been reviewed and is recommended for approval.
Okay, I'll make a motion we approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions? Not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
K1C is authorization of American Rescue Plan budget adjustment. Haley, did you want to cover this?
Oh, wait, we got the.
Yeah, this is just a budget amendment to get the ARPA budget updated for items that have been approved. I didn't know if there was any additional questions, but,
Updated for what?
sorry, I lost it.
It would be like money spent out of it for consultants and so forth that we've updated.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
and
okay.
That's really the only thing.
Go ahead, Haley, sorry.
Sorry. And I, of course, lost it as soon as we got to it.
So this, so it's reconciling is what we're doing.
Yes, sir.
We're
It's
showing
just updating,
reconciliation.
two projects that have been approved between the last budget amendment, which was in December of 2023, and now, and then additional, legal costs that have come up. We approve those invoices monthly, in the agenda, and, the change in LAN contract.
All right. Any questions or comments? I always hear a sigh down there from Commissioner Smith when we talk about ARPA.
It scares me.
All right, is there a motion to approve that report for recording purposes?
Second?
All right, motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
K1D is authorization of legal services invoice from Haley and Olson for ARPA matters for February 2024. This invoice totals $1,160 for those legal services during the month of February. It's been reviewed and recommended for approval.
Okay. Any questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Pass.
K2 is regarding the grant agreement with the Department of State Health Services, authorization of financial status report. This was for the detection and mitigation of COVID-19 and confinement facilities grant program. And this is just a financial status report that covers the period of September 1st, 2023 through February 29th, 2024.
Okay, any questions? Not, what's the pleasure of the court?
Move to approve.
Second?
Have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
Item L1, tax assessor collector, authorizations regarding designation of McLennan County homestead exemptions for the 2024 tax roll. I know the court had some questions last week, and Kathy Holloman had provided some figures on what each additional 5,000 of that local option exemption would amount to. And Kathy is online just in case you need her, but Judge, I know you had some thoughts as well.
Well, deadline being April, right? We make any adjustments, my only recommendation is just looking at that we stand pat where we are for this budget year, but really take it into consideration next year early on, so we kind of know what the revenue impact are. But any other thoughts or?
And I've just got a question. Kathy, I thought maybe the figure was under 300,000, but maybe I don't recall. Is she not on?
I did send a revised one, because
257.
we had gotten revised numbers from the appraisal district. And so it's, per $5,000, it's approximately $257,718.
Any other thoughts or comments?
I sincerely want to look at it. I understand if we bumped up against the deadline a little too much or too quickly this year, but certainly would like to consider it.
Yeah, let's look at it in July. We'll know better where we are.
Okay.
We can be prepared next year instead of just 2 weeks before.
Okay, but I think the decision would have to be made in April, isn't that right? If we changed it.
Right.
Yeah, I think what Kathy had said last time is the appraisal district likes to get those notices sent out in early April, so they would need
Yeah.
for, so to limit confusion, so it would be,
But
so it'd be
think
accurate, we would need to have that set now.
I don't want to speak for Commissioner Jones, but I think what he was saying is we can use that knowledge at that time for April.
Absolutely.
And then so I think that,
We need to, instead of waiting until March the 1st for an April 1 deadline, let's start talking about it in July and.
For next year.
For next year.
make that commitment then
Yeah.
that we, so I'm all in favor of that.
Okay.
There's a deadline date, but there's not a date on the other end that you can start talking about it. So
Right.
that's what we want to do, is get to it early.
So can we just pull this with no action?
Because, and I agree with you completely. We don't know where we're at. We hadn't gotten our CAFR yet. We haven't got, a lot of stuff. And so, and what, we don't know what the values are gonna look like.
Or what COLA's gonna look like.
What anything.
Yeah.
Budget time is the appropriate time. I totally agree on that.
Okay. All right, so
Can we just pull it?
Dustin,
We do need to let them
Oh,
know
we've gotta
the
vote on
status.
it.
We got to
so-
vote on it, that's right.
yeah,
I would make a motion then that we adopt the same rate homestead exemptions as we had last fiscal year.
Second.
have a motion second, any other discussion? No other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
L2, Criminal District Attorney, 1211 Washington Avenue Office, authorization of new fax line service. This is just authorization for fax line installation and activation at 1211 Washington.
Okay. Yeah, questions or comments? If none, what's the pleasure of the court?
Motion to approve the fax line.
All right,
Second.
have a motion second, any other discussion? No
I'd say I'm glad we're utilizing that building. I'm glad it's getting used.
Yeah. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
Under item M, additional items for discussion and potential action. M1 is discussion and/or action regarding retired patrol vehicle requests for Martin Volunteer Fire Department. If we could keep this deferred, please.
Motion to defer.
Have a motion to defer. And a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass.
M3 is discussion and/or action regarding order authorizing San Jacinto Day fireworks sales. Under the Occupations Code, the Commissioners Court is permitted to adopt an order authorizing the sale of these fireworks for San Jacinto Day, which is April 21st. If we choose to do so, it must be done before April 1st, and we've checked with emergency management, and they do not have any concerns with this order being adopted.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the fireworks on San Jacinto Day, April 21st.
All right.
Sale.
All second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, pass.
M4, discussion and/or action regarding appointment to the McLennan County Investment Committee. And Judge, I know you had
Yeah.
a nomination.
So, this committee doesn't meet very often, probably quarterly, and just looking at the, not only what the investment rates are, but continue to monitor the methodology of our investments of county funds and be sure and, always that they're secure and going as expected. So we're seeing a little higher rate, so it's a good time to look at it. So I'd make a motion that Commissioner Jones be added to the investment committee.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass.
So when will we meet? You got it, have you?
So Bill sends out a notice.
Oh, okay.
So it shouldn't be too long.
Okay.
Right, item M5, selection designation of public members of the Salary Grievance Committee regarding FY25 budget. Mercedes?
Yes, it's now time that we draw names for our FY25 Salary Grievance Committee. So Commissioner Perry, if you would.
You did a better job than you did last year.
So we're gonna draw 9 regular members and 6 alternate
Slow.
members.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
I'm gonna hand them, you know what? I'm gonna look.
So there's 3, you're drawing for 3 committee members and 3 alternates?
Yes.
Okay.
If I don't have a 50% success rate this time, I'm passing it to Commissioner Jones. Billy Pitts. Oh, yeah.
Did we do the eclipse?
Shelley Trevino.
Yeah, that was it. Part of the deal. It was just a budget. Bill for overtime, not overtime.
Oh, okay.
Peggy Kilgo.
We had to do it. Her color Francis. It was 1 minute.
Okay.
Hopping out everywhere like grasshoppers over here. Harry D. Thompson. Mark Aaron Osborne. Christina June Tate Fisher.
3 more regular.
3 more? I'm waiting one of these days to pull one of your names out here.
Thank you. Yeah, put me on there.
Jacqueline Eoff. 2 more, right? Sarah Bush.
Thank you.
And the last lucky person,
The last regular.
last regular,
Yeah.
is Esther Reynoso.
Thank you. Now we need to draw 6 alternates.
Wally, go ahead.
Stephanie Mark Svoboda. Stephen Mark Svoboda. Tammy Cantu. Christy Powers.
All right, 3 more.
Alan Wayne Watkins. Michael Ormsby.
Thank you. 1 more.
And the last. Giselle Solis.
Thank you.
That's it.
I was just gonna say that, and I don't know for certain, not knowing his middle initial, but there's a chance one of those first ones pulled is deceased, just for the record, if it's who I'm thinking it is, so,
Okay, we'll double check.
yeah.
That's off the voting records, huh?
Sorry, no, it's the grand jury.
Oh, okay.
People serve on the grand jury.
Sometimes. More people vote. Okay. All right, what's next?
That's it.
All right, so no actions needed on that, so we can move on to M6, ratification of letter of support from McLennan Community College regarding inclusion as a community project in FY 2025 appropriations for a tactical training building at MCC's Emergency Services Education Center. MCC had reached out last week about this needing a letter of support from the county, and it had a short turnaround time and needed to include it in their application packet. So Judge went ahead and submitted a letter, and we just need to ratify that letter of support.
Okay, any questions about that? It's something that's been talked about for a while. They're just trying to keep their name in the hat for funding purposes, so, I assume everybody be supportive of that.
Motion to approve the ratification.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any other discussion? Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass.
All right, Judge, I believe that is all the action items.
Okay. All right. Anything else to come before the committee? Mercedes, is that? All right, it's 11:30. We stand adjourned.